Welcome to SharEd. Mohita usually hosts this space, and I'm standing in for her today. The the entire idea of this space is to really be able to reflect and look at our own lives with respect to sustainability, with respect to building our understanding of the entire climate crisis, building an understanding in terms of what each of our choices, habits, and ideas are around it and what we can do about it. So it's actually very action oriented. It's about building our own awareness and about really trying to see how we can increase that in terms of influencing others also. So we had Pragati who joined us last time, who is the founder of So Good, talking about the work that she does with children. Today we have an amazing person, Anusha. So welcome, Anusha. Thank you for coming and for being a part of this. Can you hear me, Anusha? Is my voice
Yeah, I
clear?
can. Thank you. Yeah.
So, Anusha, I know her a little bit, but a lot more in terms of the interaction that we had with her last week. And it was a lot about the choices that she and her partner Vijay have made in terms of building their own lifestyle around sustainability. And that inspired me last time quite a lot. And I'm hoping we can continue that and learn more about the kind of choices that they have made, and what more can all of us do in, living a more sustainable life. So, Anusha, to you, and I'm hoping we can all learn through this process today with you.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmeet. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Anusha, and I'm based out of Bangalore. Vijay is my partner, and he is with CreateNet. Um, for me, sustainability as a journey, maybe I didn't know these specific terms while growing up, but I think parts of me have been inclined or um, somewhere moving towards most of these topics. I did a 1 year fellowship in a college called Bhumi here in Bangalore on sustainable living. So that 1 year, the fellowship was a lot of eye opening for me because first there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do of what I've been conditioned till now through these various modes of education exposure with respect to work, with respect to media, etc., etc. So first it took a lot of unlearning and then learning. So at the end of that journey, then I came across this organization called Sea Balance, and I joined them in 2019. So as a part of work, I think I was with IT before that for around 7 years, and I knew I didn't like it, but I didn't know what I liked. So the fellowship year break gave me some more time to explore what could be the other avenues that I would like to um, go ahead with. And definitely, I do realize there's a lot of calling in the sustainability world. Yeah. So I would like to start off with a video. Just a question: have any of you heard of this video called "Story of Stuff"?
Also, Anusha, maybe we can do a quick round with everybody and check what is something that they'd like to go away with today.
Sure.
Yeah? So if you can
So
just introduce yourself, tell if you've heard of this video, Story of Stuff, and what you would like to go away with today. That would be a good way to begin the session before we see the video.
sure. So for me, this is like a sharing space of how I'm connecting the dots from something as small as food to where it kind of links into the intercomplex design of at the systemic level, and then also understanding various threads that it pulls with respect to community, economy, local economy, corporations. So use that first. And for me as a learning, um, what I'm eager to is to also see what the team brings in with the respect to their curiosity, experience, their questions. Yeah. And if there anything specific anybody wants to look at, we could also do that. So the floor is open. Yeah.
Great. Neha, would you like to start?
Sorry, just wait. I was actually mm, attending to someone who was trying to join the meeting. So I missed. So I'd like someone else can go first. I'll go after.
All right.
Or if you could just tell me what is it that we are asking?
So just asking what brings you here? What are you looking to take from this?
Okay. So I have been actually on this journey of exploring and asking this question of sustainable living and wanting to understand. So I'm very curious to, I know Vijay's had a little conversation on this. So I'd really like to know more on what choices, conscious choices one can make um, and live this balanced, sustainable life. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Govinda, would you like to?
Hmm.
Okay, maybe anybody else can jump in.
Can I
Sure,
just
Nita.
meet my?
Please go ahead,
Yeah,
Nita.
yeah. Being associated with alternative healing and all, so this looks very attractive for me, and it generates the curiosity. So it due to this, I have joined this session. Know more about this thing.
Great, thank you, Nita
Thank
ji.
you.
Govinda ji, would you like to share?
Yeah, I think I was muted, so I couldn't speak then. Actually, what I'm doing right now is you may be a little surprised if I can. Am I allowed to use video?
Yes,
Can I use the video?
yes, you can put your video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Actually, can you can you see a garden around?
Yes.
Yes.
Something of a greenhouse, yes.
Yeah. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm actually watering my garden. So I was associated with integrated water resource planning and all those things. I am associated with an organization called the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. So we do, training in integrated water resource management. There we talk a lot about this sustainability, global climate changes and its effect on water and things like that. So even otherwise, even as a lifestyle, also I built my own house with compressed mud blocks, stone, and other things. No concrete, not much concrete, no painting, no plastering. So it's absolutely so right from beginning. I think as long as I can remember, I've been trying to do that. So I don't know who actually Anusha. Are you on my family group or who was on my
Uh,
group? Anyway,
I,
it doesn't matter. Are you? No, one of the
no.
persons. Okay, okay, doesn't matter. Somebody must have. So I thought,
Yeah.
there'll be a lot of things that I could actually cross learn from this cross talk, cross learning. So that is how I am interested in this. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Lovely to have you join us. Whoever posted it on your family group, Govinda ji. Meher? Meher?
I would not know because that name was also not very clear.
That's all
So
right.
anyway, it doesn't matter. So even otherwise also, sometimes things happen by synchronicity or whatever they say.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
even then I'm thankful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Meher, would you like to share what brings you here?
Meher, you can share.
Okay, I think, yeah. Yes,
Meher,
Meher.
you'll share. Why are you here?
Mama shared the poster.
You can turn off
Saw
your video
it
and
and
speak.
I
Meher can't hear you.
Meher, we can't hear you. Okay.
Maybe
Have
she'll
we
come back.
lost her?
Yeah. Yeah. I
No,
Okay.
think
she's here.
close
She's
video.
turned off her video. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Better.
Mama shared me the poster and I felt interested, so I joined.
Lovely, Meher.
Thanks, Meher.
Very happy to have you here. You are the most special person here.
Meher was just asking, Mama, I'm not understanding anything. Can I leave? So maybe this will stay
So, Meher,
curious.
we're going to be watching a video soon in just 2-3 minutes. Okay? Rohit, Kritika, Nidhi, would you guys like to share?
तीन नाम एक साथ बोल दिए, सबको लग रहा होगा कौन पहले बोले.
तुम perfect हो, Kritika.
So, conscious consumption. I mean, I am attracted towards people who are living a sustainable lifestyle with zero waste, and I have had people known closely as well as like farly, I would say. And someday I would want to lead such a lifestyle. So, would like to hear more from Anusha कि वो कैसे करती है जो भी करती है.
Thanks, Kritika.
I think Rohit.
Hi,
Yes,
Nidhi
Nidhi.
here. So I joined basically to understand, or I thought it was a very interesting topic to hear about and know more about towards, and it's a helpful thing to understand and know with the lifestyle that we are living, and yeah, I would like to be more sustainable and more thoughtful of our consumption. So I thought it would be quite interesting.
Great. Thank you. Rohit's written on the chat that he's coming through a friend. Maybe he can speak more later once he finishes driving and he's not in the traffic. Anusha, back to you.
Yeah, Jasmeet, what about your
Oh,
expectation?
so I am very excited to learn more about different ways of looking and being more conscious about consumption.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I've been questioning for a while, and I'm really looking forward to more perspectives on it. I think I'm in a
Okay.
very a bit of a crazy place where I'm questioning a lot on whether we really need so much food. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
I'll leave it at
sure.
that for now, and we can pick it up later.
Sure. Thanks everyone for sharing in your thoughts. So, like I stated then, intention is to first walk us all through a video. It's called Story of Stuff. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, I'll just play. Let me know with respect to volume and stuff. Is it audible?
Yes, but it's just low. If you can increase the volume, would be nice.
It's in the max actually.
Okay, that's
Would
fine.
you be able to share it then, Jasmeet?
Go
Can I
ahead.
just
Let's
put
see
the
how it
link?
goes. No, just go ahead. Let's see how it goes first. In case
Okay.
Okay, so I let me do the sharing if you can send me the link because the sound is very low.
Sure. Yeah. Just a minute. I'll just put this in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got a little obsessed with mine. In fact, I got a little obsessed with all my stuff. Have you ever wondered where all the stuff we buy comes from and where it goes when we throw it out? I couldn't stop wondering about that, so I looked it up. And what the textbook said is that stuff moves through a system from extraction to production to distribution to consumption to disposal. All together, it's called the materials economy. Well, I looked into it a little bit more. In fact, I spent 10 years traveling the world, tracking where our stuff comes from and where it goes. And you know what I found out? That is not the whole story. There is a lot missing from this explanation. For one thing, this system looks like it's fine. No problem. But the truth is, it's a system in crisis. And the reason it's a system in crisis is it's a linear system and we live on a finite planet. And you cannot run a linear system on a finite planet indefinitely. Every step along the way, this system is interacting with the real world. In real life, it's not happening on a blank white page. It's interacting with societies, cultures, economies, the environment. And all along the way, it's bumping up against limits. Limits we don't see here because the diagram is incomplete. So let's go back through. Let's fill in some of the blanks and see what's missing. Well, one of the most important things that's missing is people. Yes, people. People live and work all along this system. And some people in this system matter a little more than others. Some have a little more say. Who are they? Well, let's start with the government. Now, my friends tell me I should use a tank to symbolize the government, and that's true in many countries and increasingly in our own. After all, more than 50% of our federal tax money is now going to the military. But I'm using a person to symbolize the government because I hold true to the vision and values the government should be of the people, by the people, for the people. It's the government's job to watch out for us, to take care of us. That's their job. Then along came the corporation. Now, the reason the corporation looks bigger than the government is that the corporation is bigger than the government. Of the 100 largest economies on Earth now, 51 are corporations. And as the corporation has grown in size and power, we've seen a little change in the government where they're a little more concerned in making sure everything's working out for those guys than for us. Okay, so let's see what else is missing from this picture. We'll start with extraction, which is a fancy word for natural resource exploitation, which is a fancy word for trashing the planet. What this looks like is we chop down the trees, we blow up mountains to get the metals inside, we use up all the water, and we wipe out the animals. So here we are running up against our first limit. We are running out of resources. We are using too much stuff. Now, I know this can be hard to hear, but it's the truth, so we've got to deal with it. In the past 3 decades alone, 1/3 of the planet's natural resource base has been consumed. Gone. We are cutting and mining and hauling and trashing the place so fast that we're undermining the planet's very ability for people to live here. Where I live, in the United States, we have less than 4% of our original forests left. 40% of the waterways have become undrinkable. And our problem is not just that we're using too much stuff, but we're using more than our share. We have 5% of the world's population, but we're using 30% of the world's resources and creating 30% of the world's waste. If everybody consumed at US rates, we would need 3 to 5 planets. And you know what? We've only got 1. So my country's response to this limitation is simply to go take somebody else's. This is the third world, which some would say is another word for our stuff that somehow got on somebody else's land. So what does that look like? The same thing, trashing the place. 75% of global fisheries now are fished at or beyond capacity. 80% of the planet's original forests are gone. In the Amazon alone, we're losing 2,000 trees a minute. That is 7 football fields a minute. And what about the people who live here? Well, according to these guys, they don't own these resources, even if they've been living there for generations. They don't own the means of production, and they're not buying a lot of stuff. And in this system, if you don't own or buy a lot of stuff, you don't have value. So next, the materials move to production. And what happens there is we use energy to mix toxic chemicals in with the natural resources to make toxic contaminated products. There are over 100,000 synthetic chemicals in use in commerce today. Only a handful of them have even been tested for health impacts, and none have been tested for synergistic health impacts. That means when they interact with all the other chemicals we're exposed to every day. So we don't know the full impact on health and the environment of all these toxic chemicals, but we do know one thing. Toxics in, toxics out. As long as we keep putting toxics into our industrial production systems, we're going to keep getting toxics in the stuff that we bring into our homes and workplaces and schools, and our bodies. Like BFRs, brominated flame retardants, they're a chemical that make things more fireproof, but they are super toxic. They're a neurotoxin. That means toxic to the brain. What are we even doing using a chemical like this? Yet we put it in our computers, our appliances, couches, mattresses, even some pillows. In fact, we take our pillows, we douse them in a neurotoxin, then we bring them home and put our heads on them for 8 hours a night to sleep. Now, I don't know, but it seems to me in this country with so much potential, we could think of a better way to stop our heads from catching on fire at night. Now, these toxics build up the food chain and concentrate in our bodies. Do you know what is the food at the top of the food chain with the highest level of many toxic contaminants? Human breast milk. That means that we've reached a point where the smallest members of our societies, our babies, are getting the highest lifetime dose of toxic chemicals from breastfeeding from their mothers. Is that not an incredible violation? Breastfeeding must be the most fundamental human act of nurturing. It should be sacred and safe. Now, breastfeeding is still best, and mothers should definitely keep breastfeeding, but we should protect it. They should protect it. I thought they were looking out for us. And of course, the people who bear the biggest brunt of these toxic chemicals are the factory workers, many of whom are women of reproductive age. They're working with reproductive toxins, carcinogens, and more. Now I ask you, what kind of woman of reproductive age would work in a job exposed to reproductive toxins except for a woman with no other option? And that's one of the beauties of this system. The erosion of local environments and economies here ensures a constant supply of people with no other option. Globally, 200,000 people a day are moving from environments that have sustained them for generations into cities, many to live in slums, looking for work, no matter how toxic that work may be. So you see, it's not just resources that are wasted along this system, but people too. Whole communities get wasted. Yep, toxics in, toxics out. A lot of the toxics leave the factories in products, but even more leave as byproducts or pollution. And it's a lot of pollution. In the U.S., our industry admits to releasing over 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals a year. And it's probably a lot more because that's only what they admit. So that's another limit because yuck, who wants to look at and smell 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals a year? So what do? Move the dirty factories overseas, pollute someone else's land. But surprise, a lot of that pollution is coming right back at us, carried by wind currents. So what happens after all these natural resources are turned into products? Well, it moves here for distribution. Now, distribution means selling all the toxic contaminated junk as quickly as possible. The goal here is to keep the prices down, keep the people buying, and keep the inventory moving. How do they keep the prices down? Well, they don't pay the store workers very much, and they skimp on health insurance every time they can. It's all about externalizing the costs. What that means is that the real costs of making stuff aren't captured in the price. In other words, we aren't paying for the stuff we buy. I was thinking about this the other day. I was walking to work and I wanted to listen to the news, so I popped into a Radio Shack to buy a radio. I found this cute little green radio for $4.99. I was standing there in line to buy this thing and I was thinking, how could $4.99 possibly capture the cost of making this radio and getting it into my hands? The metal was probably mined in South Africa. The petroleum was probably drilled in Iraq. The plastics were probably produced in China. And maybe the whole thing was assembled by some 15-year-old in a maquiladora in Mexico. $4.99 wouldn't even pay the rent for the shelf space it occupied until I came along, let alone part of the staff guy's salary who helped me pick it out, or the multiple ocean cruises and truck rides pieces of this radio went on. That's how I realized I didn't pay for the radio. So who did pay? Well, these people paid with the loss of their natural resource space. These people paid with the loss of their clean air, with increasing asthma and cancer rates. Kids in the Congo paid with their future. 30% of the kids in part of the Congo have dropped out of school to mine coltan, a metal we need for our cheap and disposable electronics. These people even paid by having to cover their own health insurance. All along this system, people pitched in so I could get this radio for $4.99. And none of these contributions are recorded in any accounts book. That's what I mean by the company owners externalize the true costs of production. And that brings us to the golden arrow of consumption. This is the heart of the system, the engine that drives it. It is so important that protecting this arrow has become the top priority for both of these guys. That's why after 9/11, when our country was in shock, and President Bush could have suggested any number of appropriate things, to grieve, to pray, to hope. No, he said to shop, to shop. We have become a nation of consumers. Our primary identity has become that of being consumers, not mothers, teachers, farmers, but consumers. The primary way that our value is measured and demonstrated is by how much we contribute to this arrow, how much we consume. And do we? We shop and shop and shop, keep the materials flowing, and flow they do. Guess what percentage of total materials flow through this system is still in product or use 6 months after their date of sale in North America? 50%? 20? No, 1%. 1. In other words, 99% of the stuff we harvest, mine, process, transport, 99% of the stuff we run through this system is trashed within 6 months. Now, how can we run a planet with that level of materials throughput? It wasn't always like this. The average US person now consumes twice as much as they did 50 years ago. Ask your grandma. In her day, stewardship and resourcefulness and thrift were valued. So how did this happen? Well, it didn't just happen. It was designed. Shortly after World War II, these guys were figuring out how to ramp up the economy. Retailing analyst Victor Lebeau articulated the solution that's become the norm for the whole system. He said, our enormously productive economy demands that we make consumption our way of life, that we convert the buying and use of goods into rituals, that we seek our spiritual satisfaction, our ego satisfaction in consumption. We need things consumed, burned up, replaced, and discarded at an ever-accelerating rate. President Eisenhower's Council of Economic Advisors chairman said that the American economy's ultimate purpose is to produce more consumer goods. More consumer goods? Our ultimate purpose? Not provide health care or education or safe transportation or sustainability or justice? Consumer goods? How did they get us to jump on board this program so enthusiastically? Well, 2 of their most effective strategies are planned obsolescence and perceived obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is another word for designed for the dump. It means they actually make stuff to be useless as quickly as possible, so we'll chuck it and buy a new one. It's obvious with things like plastic bags and coffee cups, but now it's even big stuff. Mops, DVDs, cameras, barbecues even, everything. Even computers. Have you noticed that when you buy a computer now, the technology is changing so fast that in just a couple of years, it's actually an impediment to communication? I was curious about this, so I opened up a big desktop computer to see what was inside. And I found out that the piece that changes each year is just a tiny little piece in the corner. But you can't just change that one piece because each new version is a different shape. So you gotta chuck the whole thing and buy a new one. So I was reading industrial design journals from the 1950s when planned obsolescence was really catching on. These designers are so open about it. They actually discuss how fast can they make stuff break that still leaves the consumer having enough faith in the product to go out and buy another one. It was so intentional. But stuff cannot break fast enough to keep this arrow afloat. So there's also perceived obsolescence. Now, perceived obsolescence convinces us to throw away stuff that is still perfectly useful. How do they do that? Well, they change the way the stuff looks. So if you bought your stuff a couple of years ago, everyone can tell that you haven't contributed to this arrow recently. And since the way we demonstrate our value is contributing to this arrow, it can be embarrassing. Like, I've had the same fat white computer monitor on my desk for 5 years. My coworker just got a new computer. She has a flat, shiny, sleek monitor. It matches her computer, it matches her phone, even her pen stand. She looks like she's driving in Spaceship Central, and I look like I've got a washing machine on my desk. Fashion is another prime example of this. Have you ever wondered why women's shoe heels go from fat one year to skinny the next to fat to skinny? It's not because there's some debate about which heel structure is the most healthy for women's feet. It's because wearing fat heels in a skinny heel year shows everybody that you haven't contributed to that arrow as recently, so you're not as valuable as that person in skinny heels next to you, or more likely in some ad. It's to keep us buying new shoes. Advertisements and media in general plays a big role in this. Each of us in the US is targeted with over 3,000 advertisements a day. We see more advertisements in 1 year than people 50 years ago saw in a lifetime. And if you think about it, what's the point of an ad except to make us unhappy with what we have? So 3,000 times a day, we're told our hair is wrong, our skin is wrong, our clothes are wrong, our furniture is wrong, our car is wrong, we are wrong, but it can all be made right if we just go shopping. Media also helps by hiding all of this and all of this. So the only part of the materials economy we see is the shopping. The extraction, production, and disposal all happens outside of our field of vision. So in the US, we have more stuff than ever before, but polls show that our national happiness is actually declining. Our national happiness peaked in the 1950s, the same time that this consumption mania exploded. Interesting coincidence. I think I know why. We have more stuff, but we have less time for the things that really make us happy. Friends, family, leisure time. We're working harder than ever. Some analysts say we have less leisure time than any time since feudal society. And do you know what the two main activities are that we do with the scant leisure time we have? Watch TV and shop. In the US, we spend 3 to 4 times as many hours shopping as our counterparts in Europe do. So we're in this ridiculous situation where we go to work, maybe 2 jobs even, and we come home and we're exhausted. So we plop down on our new couch and watch TV, and the commercials tell us you suck. So you got to go to the mall to buy something to feel better, and then you got to go to work more to pay for the stuff you just bought. So you come home and you're more tired, so you sit down and you watch more TV, and it tells you to go to the mall again, and we're on this crazy work, watch, spend treadmill, and we could just stop.
Dear app developers, you inspire us because you dream of building a better world. It'll take some doing, but we believe in you and are here to help. The AppScale Academy by Google Play and Ministry of Electronics and IT Startup Hub. Get mentorship and training. Apply now.
So in the end, what happens to all the stuff we buy anyway? At this rate of consumption, it can't fit into our houses, even though the average house size has doubled in this country since the 1970s. It all goes out in the garbage. And that brings us to disposal. This is the part of the materials economy we all know the most because we have to haul the junk out to the curb ourselves. Each of us in the United States makes 4.5 pounds of garbage a day. That's twice what we each made 30 years ago. All of this garbage either gets dumped in a landfill, which is just a big hole in the ground, or if you're really unlucky, first it's burned in an incinerator and then dumped in the landfill. Either way, they both pollute the air, land, water, and don't forget, change the climate. Incineration is really bad. Remember those toxics back in the production stage? Well, burning the garbage releases the toxics up into the air. Even worse, it makes new super toxics, like dioxin. Dioxin is the most toxic man-made substance known to science, and incinerators are the #1 source of dioxin. That means that we could stop the #1 source of the most toxic man-made substance known just by stopping burning the trash. We could stop it today. Now, some companies don't want to deal with building landfills and incinerators here, so they just export the disposal too. What about recycling? Does recycling help? Yes, recycling helps. Recycling reduces the garbage at this end, and it reduces the pressure to mine and harvest new stuff at this end. Yes, 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 we should all recycle, but recycling is not enough. Recycling will never be enough for a couple reasons. First, the waste coming out of our houses is just the tip of the iceberg. For every 1 garbage can of waste you put out on the curb, 70 garbage cans of waste were made upstream just to make the junk in that 1 garbage can you put out on the curb. So even if we could recycle 100% of the waste coming out of our households, it doesn't get to the core of the problems. Also, much of the garbage can't be recycled, either because it contains too many toxics or it's designed not to be recyclable in the first place. Like those juice packs, where they have layers of metal and paper and plastic all smushed together, you can never separate those for true recycling. So you see, it is a system in crisis. All along the way, we're bumping up against limits. From changing climate to declining happiness, it's just not working. But the good thing about such an all-pervasive problem is there are so many points of intervention. There are people working here on saving forests, here on clean production, labor rights, fair trade, conscious consuming, blocking landfills and incinerators, and very importantly, taking back our government, so that it really is by the people, for the people. All of this work is critically important, but things really start moving when we see the connections, when we see the big picture. When people all along this system get united, we can reclaim and transform this whole linear system into something new, a system that doesn't waste resources or people. You see, what we really need to chuck is that old school throwaway mindset. There's a new school of thinking about this stuff, and it's based on sustainability and equity. Things like green chemistry, zero waste, closed loop production, renewable energy, local living economies. It's already started. Some say it's unrealistic, too idealistic that it can't happen. I say the ones who are unrealistic are those who think that we can continue with the old way. They're dreaming. Remember, that old way didn't just happen. It wasn't like gravity that we just have to live with. People created it, and we're people too. So let's create something new. There's a lot of information on this website about groups doing incredible work. Click around, get involved.
Yeah, so that was a little lengthy video, but I did feel it'll be a good starting point for us. Could we have some reflections from the video? What are your thoughts? What are you left with?
I think for me, I'm a little overwhelmed seeing the entire cycle in one go. It just suddenly makes me realize that there's so much wrong in the system that we've put in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also like a little taken aback by the way it has been designed, the
Yeah.
whole consumption, and how we are being driven and our minds are being captured towards consumption. Yeah,
Yeah.
just become quite aware of what's happening and how everything around us is being targeted. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
May, did you understand?
Yeah, even I was a bit shook by the video.
Mm-hmm.
What part of it you were shaken with?
How in the video they said that every minute we are cutting off every second, sorry, in the Amazon rainforest we're cutting off 2,000 trees.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice point, Meher, that has caught your attention.
I found that one also very funny, where this man was like sitting and there was an ad and he got up and then they're sitting back again and going back for shopping. So
Yeah. Yeah, so this video is just like a like an eye opener for us, because most times we are not really aware of what's happening in the bigger picture. So that was one reason I wanted to start off with this. Now, with respect to consumption, yeah, there are so many materials that we can look at its life cycle and the entire line of production. Maybe for today, I would like to focus at our favorite topic, which would be food. Because I think, in a way, food is something that unites most of us. It, like, it just brings a lot of smile in everybody's face, and it's something that we crave for. So I thought food might be a good point for us to start with. So, first question. How long does a tomato stay after it has been harvested? Any guesses?
4 days.
4 days, okay. Any other thoughts?
When we grow it at our home, so it stays at more than 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen this, but from the market which we purchased, shelf life is 1 or 2, 3, 4 days. That's it.
Okay.
Max to max, 3, 4 days.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So there are few things which have like a limited shelf life, right? But the way these value added products or food products are made is that a tomato which can last maybe for an average of 4 to 7 days is sitting in all of our refrigerators as tomato ketchup, and it lasts for 6 months to 1 year. How is that possible?
With the preservatives,
Hmm. That's a good word to start with. What else do you think kind of gets added?
I think sodium benzoate,
Okay, yes, that
sugar
is a
and salt.
yes, that is another preservative's name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first thing for us to actually look at, when we buy products off the shelf. So when you go to the supermarket, what is one thing that you do as a practice? Do you um, follow anything, or you just get attracted with the colorful whatever is on the shelf and you just want to pick them up? What would you ideally do?
First thing we used to see the expiry date.
That we follow? Anything after that? One is check of the expiry date. What else do we do?
Brand.
Quality.
Brand. Okay,
Quality.
quality.
We
I
pick the
usually
good
try
ones and not so good ones we leave.
Okay, so the differentiation, one which happens through the brand, and also probably maybe other hidden factors that each of us make a judgment through. Okay.
Yeah.
I usually try and figure out if I can understand the ingredient list.
Yes. Thanks for coming to that. Okay. So, like I spoke about the tomato, the next part is to ask all of you if you're making juice at home, let's say maybe orange juice. What are the ingredients you would need to make orange juice?
I
Orange.
think only oranges.
Okay,
Nothing.
oranges.
We don't prefer anything like addition into it,
Uh,
like sugar or sugar syrup, some kind of thing. I don't prefer
uh,
actually.
yes, right. Um, okay, so maybe, okay, one is just the fruit itself. Now, if you want to enhance the taste, maybe like sugar or salt or maybe some herbs like pudina, some lemon, not just enhancers of taste. But as such, it's the major fruit. Now, suppose you made orange juice in the morning and you left it out in your kitchen shelf, and then when you go back by evening, what do you see in the taste? You have not put it into your refrigerator, it's on your kitchen shelf or your kitchen slab, and you taste it in the evening.
It,
What do you feel?
it depends on the weather.
Okay, correct. Yeah, that's a good point.
In the
Let's say it's
winter,
a
yeah,
hot day and a winter day. Let's take both cases.
yeah. In the winter case, little bit like uh, you can drink maybe, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't prefer actually. And but
Hmm.
in the summerish day, you cannot drink it. Smell like anything, and like taste become bitter.
Right. So all that happens due to the fermentation activity. So the juice starts to ferment, and that's why whatever you just spoke about, that it smells bad and then it tastes bad. So basically, the juice has started to turn into vinegar eventually with with the climatic conditions. So one fresh juice that you made at home is not very exciting for you to drink it in the same day evening. Then how is it that we are okay to buy some packed stuff and put it into our refrigerator and have it through weeks and months? What makes us do that?
Our lifestyle. I avoid that basically, but
Hmm.
sometimes I have seen so many people, they have full of these things in their refrigerators.
Right. Yes, lifestyle is one. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so this is one of our famous brand of fruit juices, right? Like, so like we saw in the video, it's like, we are popped up with so many ads on TV, phone. Even while we were watching the YouTube video, I think there was one video that popped up for some, I think, education related, ad that came up. So that way, there are a lot of these ads that keep popping up in every media that we use, be it newspaper, be it like even TV, or the internet browsing. So anywhere, like these ads are put in purposefully and in a timed manner to just like catch our attention, distract our attention from where we are, and also to get us curious about the colors and the texture, the presentation. So the moment we see this, like real fruit power, mixed fruit, like, and it also reads packed with fruit goodness, more smiles per pack, and looking at all the amount of fruits, it leaves us with the hope that, wow, it's a full meal by itself. But now let's turn the packet around, and this is what the ingredients. Now, before we start reading this, I have one question. Um, what are the 6 different tastes that exist?
Mm, taste like sweet, sour, that kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so sweet, sour, bitter is what's coming to me right now. Salty. Yeah, that's what I can remember right now. I can't hear anyone.
Anusha, your sound's not coming through for some reason. Anusha?
Yeah.
Anusha, we can't hear you. Can you stop the screen share, please? Your current Zoom screen is being shared. Anusha, your Zoom screen is being shared. We are seeing ourselves. Okay, you can't hear us? Okay.
Okay, now yes. Try and say something. No.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Jasmeet.
I know, but I think Anusha, she'll join back.
Okay.
Till she comes back, I'm just curious, do you guys read the labels before buying? I had used to, then I stopped. Now sometimes reading them, I get a little scared because I don't understand a lot of the chemical names.
Yeah.
गीता आप कुछ कह रहे थे?
Yes, I stopped purchasing all these things
Yeah.
because there is a lot of sugar content also and lot of preservatives. As you said, we don't know the names of these things and how they will impact our health. Like past 5 or 6 years, I have stopped all these things. And in the oil also, I don't use refined, only mustard oil and desi ghee. That's it. And in the winter, sometime olive oil. That's it.
Anusha?
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are now.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I think we stopped at, we got 3 tastes, which was, I think, sour, bitter, and sweet. So I had stopped at, are there any more guesses for the other 3? And then I completely lost us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet, sour, salty, bitter.
Yes.
4 that we
Yeah,
have.
we have 4. We have 4. We need 2 more.
2 more.
Yes, we need 2 more.
One of them is called
Okay.
astringent or something, right?
Yes, so
Acidic.
it's called astringent, and
Yeah.
then it's called pungent.
Mm.
So what we kind of call as, like tikka or that spice, that kind of come from the pungent vegetables. So now out of these 3, uh, there are only 3 things which, like keep us addicted and keep us wanting for that taste more and more. So that is usually like, the sweet, the salt, and the spice, which is, bit of pungency. The other 3 flavors, we're not really interested in them, because they don't catch our taste buds that well, and we don't feel attracted to them. So that is what has caught the attention of most of the packaged foods as well. These are the 3 tastes which play majorly in all the packed food that we buy. So it's salt and like sweet and some amount of pungency that way, like for spice or something. Now, going back to actually reading, what is behind the real ingredients. So let me share my screen now. Jasmeet, I can't share it. Could you please enable that?
Try now.
Okay, yeah. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we stopped there. Now, I would like us to start reading this. So first it says water, mixed fruit concentrate, apple juice concentrate, orange juice concentrate. These are all percentages of their combination. Then there's guava puree, there's apricot puree, mango pulp, banana puree, lime juice concentrate, passion fruit juice, blah blah blah. They're all the different fruit names that they could probably think of, and they're all in here. And then comes the other things, which is sugar, acidity regulator. There is some weird number here which says INS 330. Then there is some antioxidant called INS 300. And then there's a stabilizer INS 440. And then also like it contains natural color and added flavors and best before 7 months from manufacture. So one fruit juice which doesn't stay till evening is sitting on the shelf for 7 months. So how's that possible? And is it healthy as the claims are, like, so they say healthy is happy, and it also reads real fruit power, while here they still say that there are added flavors and natural and nature identical flavoring substances. So if all of this was the actual real fruit, real as in what is available in nature, would it still need colors and so many things, etc., to actually bring in that color and flavor? I'm sure like most of us would have cut beetroot. So the moment we even start peeling beetroot, the color just sticks in our hand, right? Do we really need to add some red color to make a juice, or whatever color it takes to add into our normal simple thing, as simple as a fruit juice? No? Yeah. Then why is it that, like we are still going ahead? Hello?
Yeah, we're there.
Yes. Okay. So why is it that we are still, have so much of packaged food? One reason that came in then was our lifestyle, because we have busy lifestyles. It eases our work, definitely. But at what cost? The cost here is our health. Are we recognizing that?
I think it also, the taste of it is something that I know that people in my family as well really like. So I have a child who actually doesn't have any natural fruit juices or fruits, but likes the packaged fruit juices. And I find that very weird, but yes.
Yes. So the answer again goes back to the three tastes that we like the most. Now, when we give any food product that like highlights or is the max in these three tastes, which is sweet, salt, it will definitely keep us addicted. And that's the reason probably like we're unable to say no to these food, because they have been made in a way that our taste buds cannot reject them. Long ago, like during the course, like while we were doing book reviews, so I think I don't remember which book, but like as a part of McDonald's motto or their agenda, it's like you have to catch them young, so that till they die, they would be default customers of the taste. So that's the reason these days we have like small, I wouldn't just say small kids, but most of us, like um, the French fries that we get in McD, it's something that we just can't say no, because it's just that salt, that flavor salt. It is just, probably potato fried in oil with coated with some salt. And now I think there's also some peri peri flavor, something like that. So it's just salt, that how we can get hooked on to that taste and continue to be hooked on to it.
And for
I
some
remember
in my phone,
Maggie, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If you start like the taste is you can't replace. Even if you try, I tried. Now I don't eat at all. But I remember when I was young, if we tried any other noodle brand also, it just did not beat Maggie.
Yes. No top ramens, no XYZ bet Maggie ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know something, Maggie doesn't has any taste. Uh, that packet,
masala packet.
masala packet has its taste. You know, it has a lot of taste enhancer. This is this is the main reason.
Yeah.
And
Alone,
interestingly, they
like
have now
alone, yes.
they've now realized that the Maggie taste enhancer is something that people like. So now you can buy it just like that. And my children have gotten hooked on to just that taste enhancer and putting it on top of their dals and everything and eating it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, lot of people, a lot of kids doing this.
We
So,
also did when we were growing up.
yes. Yes. I think in a way it's also like kids are expo or kids grow up seeing what the adults do, right? So I think somewhere it's also for us to look at ourselves and also the circumstance. Maybe during our parents' generation, it was then that the shift happened. Probably, like around independence and the grandparents' generation, then they were all like very, there were folks who saw the most toughness and struggle to make their ends live. So they valued sustainability with respect to, let's say, a simple sari. Probably if grandmother's sari was there, then it would probably get turned into a chuddar for the daughter, maybe, or then that would, or the sari would get used as a curtain, or then the sari would be used till the last minute as the cleaning cloth, and then till it tore. So this concept of circularity was pretty much there then, somewhere around the 50s and 60s. It's only after that when conveniences started becoming uh, our ease, or we started getting open to conveniences, is where we started letting go of some of the principles which were the most important for us, and change of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So now the tough question about what do we do. What is like the first baby step we could take to go around this? So the next time you go to a supermarket, what is that first thing that you would do?
Read the ingredients.
Yes. So this was just one example, like the real fruit juice. I don't want to overwhelm us with the number of products that's available on the shelf, but it is an invitation for all of us to actually try doing it. And the way we are curious, right? Like there's some new word that we come across. Maybe we want to know what it is, or there's some new dish in the menu. So we are always curious to know what that menu tastes like. But why isn't that what is on the label? We could identify 6 items there which said mango concentrate, lychee concentrate, papaya concentrate, whatever. But what about the remaining 5 6 words that were there? Have we been curious to even know what they mean, what they do to our health, and are we signing up for it um, knowingly or unknowingly?
I guess the challenge that comes for me is that the impact on health is not something which is apparent or
Mm-hmm.
something that I can immediately see or understand. And I think that kind of makes me assume it is safe.
Okay.
I don't know how others see it, but because there's no instant reaction to something, you're like, हाँ ठीक है, should be fine.
Hmm.
It actually may not be the case in the long term, but that's just an immediate.
Right. Right. Do we have any other thoughts here? Like, how are we looking at this?
Ankit, would you like to explain that some more?
Hello.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Actually, I have a low internet over here, and I joined very late. So, I Kritika invited me. Kritika Gupta, she's there, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, I I kind of don't relate much with the idea of supermarkets and all because I don't live in a city anymore. Um, like I've been in social work, so most of my work is in villages. So all the contexts are very, so there is no word called minimalism or anything because there is no overconsumption. So the idea of minimalism comes when there is overconsumption. So so it's naturally like that, it's like there is no I mean, of course, there is now it's entering, like as we see. So what I said about in the message was primarily a lot of thought came. I mean, these things actually I kind of understood with my own life when I put them into perspective. That the more I try to stress with my um, like brain, like when I try to hold on with my brain, and it's not natural. It is like a struggle within myself to keep doing it despite everybody around us trying to tell us, okay, let's go for this party, and then you are trying to, no, I have to be conscious, I have to be this.
Hmm.
So the I have to be conscious is like an oxymoron, I think. Is either you become like that or you are not. So have to be is a struggle. Of course that struggle is also important, it's equally valid.
Hmm.
And but then the realizations of the long run are very cements it in your life, more than I think the conversations. Of course conversations are helping us understand each other and maybe giving us validation overall. But I think the practice is a lot about your own life's practice, which is very difficult in a urban scenario, to be honest. Because I tried to live there and I saw what happens. You enter in a supermarket and your eyes are flashed with so many things, and it's kind of it's not easy. So you end up buying obviously more. And I did it
Hmm.
over like I think 8 years ago and all, even though I had less money. So I used to put it on my, I think I had one credit card due to some reason, and I used to put it on, and it went on piling up, and
Yeah.
then it never ended. So, but then when I put myself into a village scenario, there was no option to buy. So, for example, you eat home food, and there is vegetable growing next to you more or less, and then there is a very less, like it's like once in a week you feel like, okay, let's eat paneer today. So that is a special thing one day
Hmm.
coming. I mean, of course, it changes from place to place. Like I am talking of Assam, but and a lot of things change. Like, so when I'm in Assam, I'm not trying to have milk because the local culture is not allowing that. It's more or less
Hmm.
the. But I am born and brought up in a culture of milk. Like, but then what I saw is that there, due to the temperature and weather and everything, it's not necessary. So of course my milk is totally cut off. So now my expenditure is automatically down, right? And there is no like you. I mean, there are certain environments which also makes you do certain things, right? So I think that also matters a lot. Like I live in a bamboo house now, so that's also I think is a part of the whole thing. I think that's yeah. That's
Yeah,
it.
thanks for sharing that, Ankit. And then yeah, it's not always like it has to be a 0 or 1 either, right? Like, so even that process or that journey of the smallest step possible, like what you said, I either consume consciously or I don't. Maybe it's not that rigid either. Whatever is the smallest step that we can take towards it is also a big achievement rather than not doing something at all.
I would like to
Yeah.
just add something about Ankit here. Ankit ने आगे अपने बंजारा लिखा है. He's actually a Banjara in a real sense because वो कहीं एक जगह रुकते नहीं है. He keeps on traveling and in a way उनकी lifestyle जो है, मतलब मैं आज तक उनसे मिली नहीं, but I've been seeing his work, and he kind of posts a lot about his work on different development creative groups as well. And I feel that वो कहीं ना कहीं sustainability के काफी close हैं.
Hmm. Thanks for introducing and mentioning about Ankit's work, Kritika. Yeah. So
Thank
so
you,
just
Kritika, for yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, go on, Ankit.
Uh, no, actually, I don't want to hijack the whole thing because I came late. I'm sorry. I'm actually I'm doing some work like building a hut nowadays. So I was busy in that till 6 p.m. So it got late.
No issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, never late than never. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we were just reflecting on, like, is our consumption or what we're doing, are we aware of it or are we unaware of why we're eating, what we're eating? Any more thoughts there?
Okay. I should I go on? Should I say something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So one more thing which also kind of is a part of the process, as you were mentioning, also is a part of the realization process. Is that I realized something that the more we are happy, like internally, like not like the happiness of the West, but the joy of the East. So the more we are joyful inside, the less we consume. I mean, that is what I noticed in myself. When I'm actually like very joyful with things and all, I don't need material a lot, right? And when I am internally very divided, or there is division in my heart and head, and there is some disconnection within myself, like with myself, with my own self, then I see that material tends to take that space, where we try to get material. Either it could be in a city or in a village also. We try to, in fact, our food consumption increases when we are very stressed. Usually we see that. So a lot of people deal with what kind of environments we have created for ourselves also, and in that are we divided, like the
Hmm.
houses, for example, in Bangalore or Pune or Mumbai. I lived in Pune, Mumbai for a long time, and and we have created a model where it's all very divisive. And the reason these kind of division actually got created is that consumption increases in such ways. Like the village consumption model is very less because people are mostly together. Of course, that is also changing slowly, but if we look at that as well, like how we are as human beings, our psychology is common. So from the brain it is a different process, but from our environments, how we put ourselves into which environment is also probably going to matter. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ankit.
I think what's coming to my mind is this, while I know that there are some things which are not required or good for my consumption, that space of in between, that struggle's quite a hard one. So it's not an easy struggle to kind of completely not have them.
Yeah. So, Jasmit, you mentioned this, that, like the side effects or the effects of all of this is not very immediate. They're not very visible. So that kind of, like gives me a confidence or a belief that, okay, nothing is happening. So at least immediately nothing is happening. In the long run, something might happen. I don't know, but at least immediately there is nothing happening. So maybe it is still okay, safe. Next question. Now, do we know what is the, like amount or the minimal or the max amount of salt we can consume in a day, sugar we can consume in a day? Do we know that? I also don't know. But imagine the amount of products that we're eating every day and how much each of these products ingredients are and how much of it we are consuming every day. So are we keeping in mind that um, am I staying in that permissible limits or are we overshooting it? All of them put together. It's not just one product. Right now, we were looking at one product, which is just a juice, maybe, or just a chips packet, maybe. But what if all of them come together in one day? The same pattern repeats every day of the week, every week of the month, every month of the year. What then? Is that safe? If it's repetitive and if the quantities are not in this permissible range? If you make a sabji with too much of salt, are you able to take it? What do we do?
Find a way to balance the salt in it.
Yes. So isn't that also like the same approach to also balance these different, tastes that come in our way unknowingly? So that's the whole invitation for us to actually, move from that unknowing spectrum and travel towards the knowing spectrum.
That's a very interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. So now when you go back to the supermarket, one thing was, yeah, you would definitely read the label and then, start understanding the ingredients. Like Google them up. It's okay. Like Google is our, anyways, the knowledge baba. So Google it, see what it means, and then understand what it does to our health. All, like the entire day, what we are slogging our ass off, working for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours, depends from type of job to type of company. We're slogging our entire day to get that money, using which we are able to buy our food and our other commodities. But what if the food we are buying itself and the way of our consumption is not healthy? Then where are we heading towards? So what we are earning, we eat something called food, which is not food, and then we spend the rest of the money in healthcare. All the time that you toil at day long of work. So just for us to start questioning or even analyzing for ourselves, like there's no this is the benchmark, but for analyzing our own patterns every day, with how are we with consumption. For now, maybe start with basic things. Like I said, the video was just an eye opener, story of stuff to like actually understand the entire cycle. But let's take baby steps, which is first food, because food is something that's very, very dear to us. So start observing around food. In the video, there were two more words that they also spoke about, which was economy and corporations. So in the beginning, when I asked, when you go to a supermarket, how do you decide what to buy? Few names or few keywords that came in were brand. So brand, who creates the brand?
We do. I mean, some organization, corporate marketing.
Yes. So brand probably might just look like a name, maybe like, okay, Anusha's chips, or maybe Pringles or Lace. So if you go to the market and you find these three chips before you, what would you actually go buy first? There's, there is Pringles, there is Lace, and then an XYZ brand, like maybe by my name. I started a chips company, and you have these three on the shelf. What would you buy first? Or, generally, what would your hand go towards?
I don't buy chips usually, but I've seen my children, they would go on to Pringles.
Correct.
As opposed
Yeah.
to Lay's and whatever local brand.
Yes. So chips here is just, like an example. That could be with any food item for that matter. So brand is, like one thing for our comfort, our belief that it has been validated by such a big corporation, then it must be the best product. But whose economy are we feeding into? There are, I don't know how it is in other parts of India, but here, at least in Bangalore, I've seen in Chennai. So there are these small shops which sell different kinds of chips or different kinds of savory items or sweet items. Now, if I would go and buy from one of them, I would probably help in feeding into the local economy. Somebody who's my neighbor who would actually, use that money to probably, like for his daily bills or anything, probably for his kids' education, I don't know, to pay his rent. The moment I buy only branded ones, which economy am I supporting? And what is that in turn creating or enabling. So one thing is, yes, I do understand for most of us, it's like that belief, or how can I just judge some just random brand? You have the biggest judge, right? It's your tongue, it's your body. Your body will be able to tell that does this work for you or it doesn't work for you.
This is so anti the big corporations that make brands and sell brands and have a story around brands. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So the invitation actually, Jasmeet, is in a way to see that are we seeing what are the unintentional consequences of me buying just one product? Are we able to like connect those dots of how it's just one fruit or one vegetable that gets converted into another product? Now that product, am I buying it from somebody who is local next door or maybe in my city, or am I buying it from all the way from maybe Delhi to Bangalore because it's available only in Delhi?
Would somebody like to comment on where you are with this?
Yes, you see, all these things actually,
Yes, Govinda, please go ahead.
sound like Gandhian economics, where we support the local products, basically because it has not only the financial or economic components to it, but even the spiritual component, because that is the best way of living. I do not know anyone of you would, I don't know how many of you know Kannada here. There is one writer called as Prasanna here. Prasanna. His name, he's a theater person, was a theater person at least. Now he has set up this called as Desi, where they support this handlooms and things like that. And even something, and we want to give things, we buy these Desi products, Desi Jubba.
Okay.
We are losing
The
your
essential thing, what
voice.
to eat apple, that means, and there are not audible, is it? Am I audible?
It breaks in between, and there's no sound in between.
Okay, I think
maybe
network problem or this one itself. Anyway, that's a good idea. I think that is what I have to agree with you. But the best way, I think, all these things, matter of convenience. But I appreciate one thing, what Ankit said. Basically, when we are unhappy, when we do not have that inner, we tend to consume more. So, if you have a happier family, and probably if you are happier with the code bale and chakli that we make, we don't even have to buy anyway. So that's the reason. But then once again, we'll always say, we are all working. Then I will have to ask that question: why are you working? Suppose I tell my daughter or daughter-in-law to say that, is it necessary for you to? I am not being, feminist or any of these things. But let us say, if I say, what is the need for you to work? They say, no, we have read so much, we have studied so much. I am a electronics, this one, so I have to work. Otherwise, I don't find a purpose in life. So, all these things, when we are touching all these things, these mechanisms actually gives us satisfaction that we have done something. Suppose, the garden that I have made at the top of my terrace gardening, it gives me a sense of satisfaction. But it should not limit me. Say that, I have done my part. Now you don't ask me a question. So this tokenism is a very dangerous thing. All this, that is how, somehow, I'm not even attracted by any of these talks and other things. Basically, because all these talks and other things will just wither away with this, saying something fanciful and other thing. But then unless we get down to the brass tacks and do something, there is no meaning. For example, when I started, I am a civil engineer. I was trained as a civil engineer. So when I wanted to build a house, I said, if I keep talking about sustainable houses, but I don't do it myself,
Mhm.
what moral right do I have? So I went to Indian Institute of Science, took a 1 week course in Astra. It was called as Astra. That is Application of Science and Technology for Rural Advancement. Then, now it may be renamed. Then I learned how to make this mud blocks and things like that. And we used that.
Mm.
See, Chitra Vishwanath was my architect, so she was good at it. So we built our house with mud blocks, no plastering, no painting, and everything. For 22 years it has stood. But little care is required in making all those things. But then that is something, we can say, okay, all right, I've done something. So I think each one of us will have to say what we can actually do something, instead of saying, go to supermarket and check the things. Why go to supermarket at all? You see, is it not possible for us to make juice at home itself? Once again, we'll say, no, it's matter of convenience. We are working. Therefore, we don't have time. So we have to do something about it. This is where we get caught. That is why I say, this tokenism is a very dangerous. Tokenism is a very dangerous.
So I think, Govinda, that then leads us to a very specific question for all of us. What is the one action that each of us feel that we will take coming out of what we are learning? Which kind of questions or changes or choices? One very specific action that you can commit.
I will have to say, the best thing is there a way by which I can consume less? I think that's a brass tack. If I need to take something, the moment I had to go to this and say I had to buy shirt or something like that, do I really need it? That's all. I think that is the best thing. Do I really need it? Before you buy anything, before you consume anything, you say, do you need it? Most of the cases, I think, and also take an inventory in our own house. This is what I have been practicing, not that I intend to practice it. If you look
Mhm.
at your own house, it has not seen the daylight for about 3 months or this, and I think that product is ready to leave your house. You must actually put it to. You see, actually, we do recycling in the sense, this all this vegetable cuts and other thing. Waste. We actually produce manure and use it in my own garden. I think that's my contribution. It is not that I have to make a new, this one oath or
Fair enough.
anything today. And
Yeah,
I
sure.
think I will continue to find out more ways by which maybe I don't buy books these days, because if I cannot read all the books that I have bought, I have no right to buy another book. So I don't buy books these days.
Great. So
That's how.
Govind, I would
Yeah, that is
pass
what
that
we are.
question
Yeah,
on to
yeah,
others as well. Just
yeah. Please.
track of
Thank,
time.
thank. Yeah.
Just keeping a track of time. Just the question goes to everybody. What is something that you can commit to doing that changes your choice?
Uh, can I share?
Of course, Ankit.
Yeah. So I think in terms of what we should do, or what I am doing, I can share that. Um, is that I'm trying to look at how I'm reducing myself from this somebody into, I mean, of course it would never be a nobody till death, but that journey of from being this big, probably CEO or director or manager, to this absolutely like a small ant, maybe, or even smaller than that, in terms of the ego. Of course the physical body will grow, but the mind and the the ego, which we call as the ego, in the spirit we say it as ahem. So the ahem, the higher it grows, the larger the consumption is, and it does not just is about individual consumption. Individual consumption, to be honest, in India is way less than the US. And what they eat in a day is what we eat probably in our common average. I'm not talking of urban India, which is highly changed now, but rural India hardly consumes. I personally know this because I see this every day. But so where I see this is this it's very much interconnected with our individual self, of how we look at ourselves. So if we look at it, I have to become this, I have to become this big person, I have to grow, I have to compete with this person, I have to pass this person. That is where we start on this journey of overconsumption without even knowing it. And the more, and if we want to really go into the root of it, it is connected to our own individual realization of, how we are in this whole universe. Who are we? I know it's going a little way off the part of the subject, but if it is not just about what is kept in the supermarket or what is available, and because human psychology is
Hmm.
being used to sell. So the companies, they know day in and day out what they do is basically they use our inability to know our own selves into
Hmm.
selling us, because we are so incomplete that we complete it with a certain chips or a certain product or a certain supermarket item. So, if we are completely moving in that direction where we are absolutely satisfied with our own selves sitting somewhere without the need of a certain video game in the hand, then there that is where the whole thing will start changing. And of course, it's a very difficult and but very important journey, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. Neeta says that I will start thinking before purchasing things. Do I need this actually? Become more aware. Similar to what Govindaji was also sharing.
Yeah.
Neha, Kritika?
I would say uh, I was aware, but this has made me taken my awareness to another level, really. And this is from what Ankit is sharing, what Anusha, just this whole conversation. I think the part that unknowingly that we do, I think that's now come into my consciousness. That there is
Yeah.
something that's happening unknowingly. So just being aware of it.
Yeah.
So I also stopped buying these products which have preservatives, specifically these mayonnaise and dips and all of these things. Though they please the taste buds, but once I had a research on one of these specific preservatives, E something, and then it just got into my system so much so that I think a lot. I mean, before I so much so that now I have kind of 95% reduced my consumption into it. And specifically, I also don't consume, tomato sauce, etc. And, processed and packaged foods. बहुत ही कम.
Thanks, Kritika.
To add, I'm at a place where I'm actually even questioning my own consumption of food. And I'm not even talking of processed or anything with preservatives.
Hmm.
I mean, I've really worked on that part where the amount of any packaged food or any processed food in day-to-day eating is very small. It's not gone, but it's small. But I'm currently at a place where I'm even questioning this entire notion that I've grown up with, that I need to have a certain number of meals and a certain amount of food in a day. I've cut that down and I realize that I actually don't need so much food. I so I'm really wondering where that has come from. There
Hmm.
are notions that I've grown up with that you need to have 3 meals a day, you need to have so many snacks, you need to have milk, you need to uh, so many things actually. And
Yeah.
it's in a place where I'm cutting a lot of it down and I don't feel either a lack of energy or a lack of nutrition in the body or a lack of health, and I have been tracking it. So I'm really questioning that entire concept.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, so one part of the intention of talking about local economy was also this, which was um, now Mr. Govinda said that, yeah, my next generation, which is his daughter-in-law, they complain of no time, and that's the fast-paced world we are in right now. But again, the questioning our action to actually understand what are we seeking out of it. And my intention was also to bring in this thing of how we existed as groups, as communities. Now, yes, I do understand that, yeah, it's really tough for us to do everything from scratch. But what if we had, or we brought back barter system where, let's say, if 3 or 4 of us are in Bangalore and in whichever part of town, and again we are like a walk away, maybe even just stating, like, okay, I'm good at making sweets, so I would make more sweets and then just exchange it with just meat maybe, and whatever you're good at making, you exchange it with me. Or let's say both of us just don't have time, but there are other women in the locality for whom this can become a livelihood. So can I look at purchasing from them directly because I don't have the time? So just this thought of, again, exchange of commodities, where money is not just the only way for us to buy, but commodity to commodity is our way of exchanging.
I think what I'm also picking up from what you're saying, one is the exchange, and second is the distance of the cycle. So in terms of you're making and I'm consuming, or I'm making and you're consuming, versus X person making, going through 20 different stops before it comes to me. So it's also what I'm picking up from what you're saying is reducing that consumer chain into a more simplistic one, where the food to table, or any, actually food is not the only thing, but any consumption to table,
Yeah.
a very short cycle.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm looking to just get a sense that everyone's got something that they want to try, and what I'm hoping is that next time when we meet after 2 weeks, we can come back and see where we are with this. Yeah, Ankit, I think Deepa, the Darya Dil Dukan, hopefully we shall have her also as part of the group soon. And we can come back and talk of what we've tried and how that's worked. One of the things that we're looking to do is to build this community, and I don't actually have the WhatsApp link to share with you here to join it. But since we know most of the people, I'll share it. Govinda ji, if you can share your number on the chat, we can come back to you with a link to the WhatsApp, and you can stay connected to for the next session that happens after 2 weeks. And yeah, so just coming to a close here, and any last thoughts from anybody before we come together? Anusha, thank you for bringing this up. It's really made, I don't know about others, but I'm questioning a lot of things now. I somewhere think that going away with a lot of questions is a sign of a good discussion and a thought-provoking session. So I don't know how it's
Thank
been
you.
for others. All right. So we'll just take a last minute. Anusha, anything you want to say in closing, and we'll take a minute silence before we close, before we end.
Thanks, Jasmeet, for those words. I think one thing that I was also really conscious of was, I hope this shouldn't turn into a preachy session, but I just wanted to bring in more questions. So I've been a little scared of that myself. I'm like, no, I shouldn't make this a preachy session. I don't know if it also got translated that way. I would really appreciate feedback as well. But the whole point of bringing in just questions and linking the dots was something that I intended. I hope it translated that way. But yes, I really enjoyed this discussion and the different thoughts and own experiences that this has also brought in. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take a minute's silence before we close. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. And
Thank you.
we hope to see you after 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Anusha. It's a very nice
Thank-
session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It was good.
Thank-
It was good.
Thank you.
I would